Thank you, Lauren, for the Lauren Knutson version, but I don't blame you a bit. I'd have done the same thing if I were you. Well, I don't know if you noticed this morning, but I did not come out to greet you and during our passing of the peace, and I'll not be getting close to anyone this morning because we have colds going around our house, and Shelley's got the most severe one, and the rest of us, well, Caden's about over his, and I think Camry's fine, but I've got a bit of a cold, and I just don't want to share it with anybody, so that's why. I'm also going to be brief this morning. I know that breaks your heart, but I'm shortening up my sermon a little bit just because I know if I talk too long, it's going to affect my voice, so. We have Valentine's Day right around the corner, right? It's on Thursday, Friday, something like that. Friday this week. And we're surrounded by all these ads for flowers and balloons and candy and all those good things to give to our people that we love. And if you haven't done that, and you haven't been to the card shop yet, this is your reminder, so don't forget. So, some people love Valentine's Day and enjoy it. Some people, not so much. Some people love the emphasis, I guess we could say, on celebrating the people in their lives. The pink cupcakes, the candy, the surprise gifts that come with a holiday such as this. The cards where something unexpected is revealed. Maybe there's a marriage proposal or something like that happening for some. Other people dislike or don't really care about Valentine's Day because of the emphasis on happy couples, paired off 2 by 2, but they're missing someone who is dear to them. And so the holiday doesn't mean as much as it used to. Some are grieving a breakup, and so for that reason, they're not particularly excited about Valentine's Day. Do you not appreciate the sugar and the sweetness that forgets every real relationship has difficulties as well as joys? Some people get a little cynical and a little sarcastic and say things like that. I think if aliens were to land on our planet and it happened to be Valentine's Day and they landed here in the United States, they might reasonably guess that the word love applied to only shiny, happy, in shape, perfect couples or celebrities getting together. If they saw ads and advertisements on TV and in magazines and so forth. But we all know that love comes in many shapes, many sizes, and many forms. There's the love of the grown-up son or daughter who is taking care of a parent through a long illness. There's the love of the parent who fights every day for their child who is a special needs child. There is the couple whose misty-eyed honeymoon phase is long gone and has given way to decades, tens and tens of years of learning to accommodate each other's dreams, little quirks and things that they know their partner loves. There's the love of the gay or lesbian couple who are struggling to be seen in our society today. Paul's letter to the church in the city of Corinth talks about that wider vision of love. Our reading that Lauren read for us this morning comes right after a section where he reminds this whole church community that they are all blessed with various gifts and that they ought to appreciate and value each other's gifts. Without a variety of talents and a variety of experiences, this community, the church, would be very one-sided, and it'd be very boring, I think. The lawyers need to appreciate the artists. The engineers need to listen to the poets. The extroverts are balanced by the quiet ones, the introverts. The people with disabilities have a lot to teach all of us. The athletes need to slow down for the people with the walkers and the canes. The teachers need to appreciate the musicians and vice versa. Paul is addressing the whole church body, the whole community in this letter. It was not meant for a few individuals. It was meant for the whole church. This chapter is sometimes read at weddings, often read at weddings, and commitment ceremonies where two people promise their lives to each other. At the beginning of their lives together, we hear it as a promise and a hope because they haven't yet accomplished all those years together. It's also often read at funerals, celebrating a life that was fully lived, someone who used their gifts for others. It has special meanings in weddings and memorial services, but it also belongs to the whole church family. Paul continues to instruct the church at Corinth about how to live together as people of faith. He reminds us that if we speak with all the learning in the world, if we're so intelligent and we know so much, but people can't understand us, we're missing the Spirit of God. If we speak in tongues, which was a very hotly debated subject in the church in that day, and especially in the church at Corinth, if nobody gets the message that we're speaking, then it's useless, Paul says. If faith never gets from our head to our heart, then we're missing the gift that God has placed within us. For Paul, love is both a gift from God and it's also a choice in our lives. Love is not the movie magic, heart fluttering that we associate with romance, but love is the daily choices we make, the way we act, the repeated way we choose to organize our lives for other people who are important to us. As Scott Peck wrote in his classic book called The Road Less Traveled, he says that love is work. Quote, "Love is not a feeling. Keeping an eye on a 4-year-old at the beach, concentrating on the interminable, disjointed story told by a 6-year-old, teaching a teenager how to drive, truly listening to the story of how your spouse's day went. All these things, all these tasks are often boring, frequently inconvenient, and always energy draining. They mean work." Writer and teacher Jack Kornfeld tells the story of a young man who wanted to join a gang. And this young man had to prove himself worthy by shooting somebody. And so he went out and he shot someone he didn't even know. He killed another young man. And then he was caught. He was put on trial. He was convicted. And every day, the mother of that young man he shot came to the trial. And she watched. She glared at him, never saying a word. At the end of the trial, just before they took him away to jail, the mother looked him right in the eye and said, "I'm going to kill you." After a year or so in prison, the guard came one day and told him that he had a visitor. It was this woman, the mother of the young man that he had killed. He was nervous about seeing her, but he didn't get many visitors at all, so he agreed to see her. They talked for a little while, and she asked him if he needed anything. He said no, he was fine. She came back to see him again every few months. Every time he was nervous, but a little less nervous as time went on. Finally, it was time for him to get out after many years. And she asked him what his plans were. He said, "I have no idea. I have no family. I have no job. I don't know. So she contacted a friend of hers, and she helped this young man find a job. And then she asked where he planned to live. And again, he didn't know. And so she offered him her spare room and said, "You can come and stay with me for a little while." She made sure he got up and he got to work. She made sure that he had enough to eat and all of the necessities of life. After a couple of months, she said to him one day, "Do you remember that day in court when you were convicted of murdering my son for no reason at all, to get into your gang, and I stood up and said, 'I'm going to kill you'?" He said, "Yes, I'll never forget that day." As the author tells it, she said, "I killed that boy. I didn't want a boy who could kill in cold blood like that to continue to exist in this world. So I set about visiting you, bringing you presents, bringing you things, and taking care of you. And now I've let you come into my house, got you a job, gave you a place to live. I set about changing you. And you are not that same person anymore. I want to know," she said, "if you'd like to stay here. My son is gone. I'm in need of a son. And I want to know if I can adopt you." He said yes, and she did. The feeling of love is never enough. The feeling of love is never going to be enough. It's how we live. It's true at home, and it's equally true in the church and out in the community. We flourish and we grow because of the gifts that grow from the work of love. Love is the concrete act, our choices, our work, our will. Love has deep patience and determined kindness, and love looks ahead into the future. In the name of God, who is love defined, let's show that kind of love to each other. Amen.